Hello, ladies. What is going on? Joanne has a challah bake now?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a shear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I totally forgot that we had a shear this morning. And I'm going about my day. And then I got a text to remind me. So, okay. I guess Hashem wanted me to stop in the middle of everything and learn a little bit of Torah. That's okay. But I forgot to send it out to everybody, so sorry. Good morning, Katie. Thank you for the good morning. Okay. Let's just talk a little bit about Sukkot, about Sukkos. I was just in Osher Ad, and it's a madhouse, as you all know. Osher Ad is the meeting place of all Jews before every holiday, and there is many of them now. When the one opened up in Har Nof, as you all remember, I told you this years ago, it opened up right before Pesach, and it was a huge Pesach store, the likes of which we hadn't seen here in Yerushalayim. And now it's for everybody. So now it's a sukkah store, meaning you walk in and there's not enough room in the store for everything, so it's overflowed into the parking lot. They're selling everything that you need for sukkahs, including a sukkah and schach and flooring, grass floors, decorations, lulav and esrog, hadassim and aravos. You don't need to go anywhere else. You just need to have a lot of patience and a very big shopping cart and a big wallet. And so, anyway, that's just where I was. And also they're selling whatever you need for the sukkah, meaning beds, portable beds, fold-up beds, futon beds, chairs, tables, electric stuff.
How is it?
Beautiful. It's called Osher Ad. That's where it is, and it's here in Har Nof. Hi, Tavara and Ava from Sfat. You have to mute yourself, sweetie pie, but hi, it's good to see you. Oh, where'd you go? Good. Okay, I'm not sure who's hosting today, but I see that whoever is doing a good job of muting everybody. Let's just talk a little bit about Sukkot, about Sukkos, and we're going to focus on the Simcha of Sukkos, the happiness. As you know, it says in the Chumash, it says about Sukkos 3 times, "V'hayita ach sameach." You have to be only happy, only be happy, be very happy. And we all know that that's a mitzvah for all year long to be happy. But especially on Sukkot. And why is that? So on the simple historical level, on the simplest level, we know that when we did the Chet of the Meraglim on Tisha B'Av and the Chet HaEgel on Shavuos B'Tammuz, so the summer was very hard for the Jewish people in terms of our history. And we did these two big Averos. The first year we did the Avera of the Chet HaEgel, and then we did the Avera, the mistake of the first was the mistake of the golden calf, which was just a lack of emunah, a lack of bitachon, a lack of trusting in Hashem, a lack of understanding what Hashem expects from us. And the second sin was the lack of trust in coming to Eretz Yisrael. And as you know, we had a crazy thing happen here on Yom Kippur, but it was really a very good thing. I love when people can transform negative news into positive. So we had a crazy thing happen. I'll tell you what it was. In Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv is Tel Aviv. So every year in Tel Aviv, they make a big shul. They make in Dizengoff, in the big plaza, in the main shopping area of Tel Aviv. I'm sure you've all been there. They make services. They have Yom Kippur services. And the organization that sets up those services is called, what's it called? Rosh Yehudi, I think it's called. It's a kiruv organization for Israelis. whatever it was, the Tel Aviv is becoming crazier and crazier. Not the whole city, but some of the liberals there. And they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, you're not allowed to make a mechitza in Tel Aviv. You're not allowed to separate men and women in any public areas. So, of course, the Rosh Yehudi, this Kiruv organization, said, well, that clearly cannot apply to the one day a year, the most holiest day of the year, when all the Tel Avivis come out to daven together. They all put on a yarmulke and they come out. But the bottom line is that there were certain paid provocateurs who are probably not Jews and probably not Israelis, whatever they were. They came in the middle of Yantif and they started tearing down the mechitza. They made a mechitza of Israeli flags, but believe it or not, that was the mechitza. They thought they didn't want to offend anyone. And these people started tearing down the flags and making a big balagan on Yom Kippur with their phones and with their making a big ruckus. And so what did the Jewish people do? The Jewish people who were there, they eventually moved to another street. They just took they took all the chairs, they took the mechitzot, they took the Sefer Torahs, they took everything, and they moved to a side street. So the whole Israel was horrified by this. And on a certain level, it was very good. It sounds like a horrifying thing. It sounds like really Nazi Germany. It sounds like Russia, Soviet Russia, where, in the middle of davening, the KGB comes in and breaks up the whole minyan and says it's illegal. But it happened here in Eretz Israel. So what's the good part about it? The good part about it is that even liberal Jews were offended and were horrified and were disgusted. And so it's showing there's a certain, you have to take sides. You have to take sides right now in the world. We've spoken about this for years and years. There's a side of good, there's a side of the opposite of good right now. And they're polarized. It's becoming more and more extreme. So, so this incident, as horrifying as it was, I think called the attention to regular middle of the road Israelis to understand that the actions of these people, of these very, very small minority of liberals. Sorry for the announcement truck in the background. Sorry. They're announcing there's an announcement truck in the back of right by my window that's saying that they're selling lulav and mesrogim today in the community center in Har Nof, open till 1 a.m. Sorry if you can hear that in the background. But that's part of bringing Eretz Yisrael to the UK, is letting you feel Avira, the feeling of how it is here in the streets. All the streets are crowded with, every other street is crowded with kids selling lovim and esrogim and hadassim and aravos and sukkah boards and sfach and sukkahs. And then you have these guys saying, I'll put your sukkah together for you. It's the excitement in the air. It's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And Hashem put up the thermostat a little bit here in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. I don't know how it's in Tzfat, but it's a little bit hot here. And he's planning on turning it down exactly when we're entering into our sukkah. Hashem's going to make it comfortable weather. That's what whatever those people who predict weather are predicting. So, okay, so looking at the positive in that all Israelis are going to have to make decisions soon about when Mashiach comes, are they going to accept Mashiach or not? That's really going to be a very big decision. Are you going to go with the Mashiach or are you going to not? Now, you might say, what are you talking about? Of course, everyone will go with Mashiach. And the answer is lav dafka, not necessarily. You're going to have people who are going to protest and who are not going to want to have, who are going to be feeling intimidated by the power of the soul of Mashiach. I'm not a judge. I don't know how to judge souls of the Jewish people, but there are probably going to be those, maybe they're not even Jewish, who are not going to survive the whole Mashiach process because they don't want to, or I don't know how it's going to be, but majority of Jews here in Eretz Israel, I would say 99%, not to offend that other 1%, but the 99% are going to be okay. And that 1% are going to be, are the ones who are outside demonstrating and doing all kinds of crazy things to try to destroy the Jewish feeling in the land of Israel. Could you imagine on Yom Kippur? Everyone knows Yom Kippur. Most estranged Jews know about Yom Kippur. And on Yom Kippur in Eretz Israel to disrupt services because the Supreme Court said, which is the Supreme Court is backing all of these people. It's a secular Supreme Court. It's a very, very bad Supreme Court judges. So eventually the Israelis have to see that this whole way of, running Israel is not going to work. And they're slowly, slowly recognizing that. I read an article in the Eretz Sheva that was a guy who wrote like this. He wrote, he's a liberal, and every single Shabbos, or Moshe Shabbos, he goes and demonstrates with the liberals. But once a year, he decides on Yom Kippur, he observes Yom Kippur. That's the thing that most Israelis observe Yom Kippur. So he said he observes Yom Kippur. And he was actually in that shul, or in that prayer service in Tel Aviv. He was there. And he said he recognized some of the people who were demonstrating against who ripped, they were violent. They ripped down the mechisa, and they pushed over chairs, and they were screaming, and they came with megaphones in the middle of Yom Kippur davening, megaphones, screaming, democracy, democracy, whatever they scream. And so this guy said, I was with you every Shabbos, I was with you. And now that I decided on Yom Kippur to keep Yom Kippur, you're calling me an enemy? So you see, the idea is that anyone who's not in that little tiny group of protesters who would actually have the gall and the chutzpah to protest on, or to make a big fuss like this on Yom Kippur, anyone who's not with that group is considered other, is considered religious, is considered unwelcome, all the adjectives that they use. Anyway, of course, Hashem is going to make this whole thing go away. But just to show you, when you take something to its extreme, when you look at the root of something, how do you know if something is kosher or not kosher? You have to look at the root. Look at where the root's coming from. If the root is rotten, then the whole thing is going to be rotten. If the root is kosher, then the whole thing is kosher. So I remember years and years ago. I'll just tell you this I once had an energy treatment done to me, energy health treatment, and it was really nice. It felt great. It felt like warm energy all over my body. Anyway, I asked the practitioner what they're doing, and they told me the name of that, the main name of that treatment. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to start making everybody a little bit nervous here. But whatever it was, he said, "This is the name of the treatment," and I said, it felt like warm, the lower back. All of us, our lower backs could use a little bit of, support. After all the years of cooking, cleaning, shopping, tending to children, tending to grandchildren, Baruch Hashem. So our lower backs need a little TLC, tender loving care. Anyway, there was like a lot of warmth going on to my lower back, and the practitioner wasn't even touching me. There was no touch. It was just like energy. Anyway, I said, okay, what is this? And the practitioner told me what it was. This was in America, I don't know, 30 years ago. And so I said, oh, I have to learn this. Tell me how you do it. And so they said, you have to get the energy. You have to receive it from a master, and then you give it over. I said, oh, that doesn't sound kosher at all. Don't do it anymore until I research it. And I did research it. And it turns out that the beginning root of this particular energy form was a very, very Christian, idolatrous combination of idolatry and a combination of Eastern idolatry and Western Christian idolatry. So you didn't know that when you were having that treatment, but that's where the root was. If the root is treif, if the root is unkosher, then the whole thing is unkosher. So we see the root of these demonstrators is very, very unkosher. It's very not l'shem shamayim. The people who are l'shem shamayim, who are doing this for the sake of the purpose of what they think they believe in, I think they were a little shocked at what happened on Yom Kippur, and that's good. It's good for them to see that they're belonging to a group that has the goal, the chutzpah, to desecrate the holiest day of the year in Eretz Yisrael against Jews. Okay, that's that. So we're coming now towards a place of Succos. These 4 days after Yom Kippur. That means Yom Kippur was when? Monday, right? So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, because tomorrow night Sukkot already. It's also Shabbos, Baruch Hashem. We have a double beautiful. These 4 days, Chazal tell us that we're so busy doing mitzvahs. We're so busy getting ready for Sukkot, and we should be busy all the time till you, oh, 1 second. I must, so we're so busy that we have no time to sin. And that's what our rabbis tell us, that Sukkot is these 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. We have no time to do anything wrong, and the prosecuting angel is very, very disappointed. Just a second. Okay. Now, I bet you were wondering what that was all about. I had some kind of a very strange hopping bug on my table that came back for a second day in a row. I don't know what that is, but I didn't want to kill it, so I got it. I got it out the window, but I needed to do it like that. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the happiness. So now we're still very, very pure from Yom Kippur, and I want to tell you a few pointers that was one of them is a very important a reminder, and that is all of us are saying to ourselves, like, how do I maintain any of the feelings that I had on Yom Kippur? How do I sustain that, and how do I continue it, right? We all had, every Jew has some kind of a moment of epiphany on Yom Kippur. Some people have extended moments, some people have hours, whatever it is. How do we sustain that? How do we continue it? So the very simple answer that the tzaddik can give is just call to memory. I think we spoke about this last week also. Call it to memory. Remember what you experienced on Yom Kippur. What particular part of the service was inspiring to you? Which particular part of the service was powerful? Which davening did you daven well? What did you do on Yom Kippur that that made you feel closer to God? Just call it to memory. When you call it to memory, since it was a holy experience, when you call it to memory, you're re-experiencing it, and you have a little bit of that power that enters your soul. So call to memory, and if you're worried about your memories, so then write these things down. Even if you're not worried about your memory, write down um, any of the experiences that you had on Yom Kippur. And the truth is, on any time in your life, if you have, who has time now? Nobody has time now to do anything but cook and shop and clean and cook more and shop more. So, but the bottom line is that whenever you have some time, make yourself a journal of the holy experiences that you've had in your life so that you can bring them to memory whenever you feel like it. And when you bring them to memory, you're catching a piece of that energy, of that particular energy, that particular moment. Okay, so I want to talk about Simcha because that's the mitzvah of the Chag is Simcha, and the challenge of this generation is to be b'simcha. To be b'simcha means to be happy. What does it mean, happiness? I always tell you the story that I was privileged 35 years ago, maybe it's already 30. Every time I tell the story, it's longer and longer ago. And some of you who are going to be listening to this year were actually there with me when I was still living in America, but I had access to we had like a little protectia to go see Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter Shlita, who is basically the head of the Breslov world. Now, of course, Rabbi Nachman is the head of the Breslov world, but in terms of a live mashpia, Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter is probably the one who is the most. Anyway, so I had an experience where I took a bunch of women to him for brachas. And in the end of the brachas, when everybody got their bracha, he asked me, he said, tell me, do you know, he said to me that I have to make sure to do the mitzvah, to be a real Breslover, you have to be b'simcha at all times. So, and then he said to me, do you know what it means to be b'simcha? Now, when a tzaddik asks you, do you know what it means to be b'simcha? You know that you don't know, because if he's asking you that question, he wants to tell you. So I said, no, I don't remember how I answered, but he said, Simcha is really not what people think. People think that Simcha is cheerfulness or being upbeat or being extroverted or being loud or being whatever. He said, no. Simcha means an internal peace. internally, it's more like shalva, quiet, peace, tranquility, a happiness that comes from the quietness of your soul, that you know that Hashem is with you and everything's okay. It's a certain peacefulness, it's a certain calmness that a person has. But that calmness is not just calm because you're sleeping, it's calm because you're contemplating that everything is perfect. That's Simcha. So we're supposed to think about Simcha now. And why are we supposed to think about Simcha now? Because Hashem retook us. What does it mean? So as I said in the beginning, we did sins. The Jewish people did sins. We did the sin of the golden calf. We did the sin of the Merag and the spies. And then Hashem pushed us away. And Moshe Rabbeinu had to work for a very long time, for 120 days. He went up to Har Sinai 3 times, and each time 40 days. The first time just to receive the Torah, but the second and third time was to get us off the hook and to get us to be forgiven again, and then to get us to Hashem, not just to be forgiven, but that Hashem should retake us as his people. So what happened on Yom Kippur? We were forgiven. But on Sukkot, Hashem retakes us as his people. He's marrying us, so to speak. That's why the Sukkah is like a chuppah. And so it's like when people after they marry for 100 years and they say, let's get married again, let's make a ceremony to, what do they call that? By the going, they call it remaking vows or something like that.
Connection.
Huh? So Hashem, that's what Hashem did on Sukkot. He said, okay, you're off the hook. I'm not going to destroy you. That was Yom Kippur. Salachti kidvarecha, and that's Sukkot, renewing vows. Thank you. So that's Goyim, because Goyim make vows. We don't make vows. We dafka unmake vows. We do kol nidre. We don't make vows. Because it's so funny, because the Goyim who make vows, they break them in a second. They break them in a second. I feel bad for them, because a vow by a Goy is valid. You know that. When a non-Jew makes a vow, it's a binding legal thing on that person, and they're not allowed to break a vow. So when they get divorced, when they have when they have all kinds of infidelity, or when have whatever they vow to do, I vow to obey you. What does that mean? Whatever they make vows, they break them right away. They shouldn't be making vows. But whatever it is, the idea that Hashem, you should tell that to you if you know any goyim, we're getting married, tell them don't make vows. You'll be legally, halachically bound to them. You don't do that. Make up another ceremony, whatever. So Hashem took us back on Sukkot. He brought us back into his house on Sukkot. That's why we're happy to be, even though it's a temporary house. It's a cute little hut, but it means that Hashem is reclaiming us. And we're also talking about the idea that this world is very temporary. And that's a very hard concept for us the Western mindset to understand, because in America, where I was brought up, the American dream is a house, a wife, a house, 2 kids, a dog, and a car in the garage. That's how it was like in all American TV. When they showed the perfect family, that's what they showed. And that was the American dream. Now it's an American nightmare. What's going on in America sounds to me like a nightmare. I just heard that they're closing some of my favorite stores. When I go to America, which I haven't gone in a very long time, but because I visited you guys in the UK, so I hopped over to America to see my kids and to my students and to teach a little bit. So there are certain stores I go into, like my regular stores, and I see that they're closing them because of all the looting, and they make like parties now. That's all. Everybody goes to the store and breaks the store down, and they invite you to a store looting, a store stealing. These are kids who believe that it's coming to them. They believe that they're above the law. And anyway, but Sukkot reminds us that this is not the real world at all. If we're so happy to leave our house and to go into a sukkah, the idea is the house, which we think is so permanent, is really temporary. And the sukkah, which would look so flimsy, is really permanent. Why? Because the sukkah is Hashem's hug. It's kirbas elokim. It's godliness. A sukkah is godly. It's like having in your own backyard a shul, a beit knesset, a yeshiva. The sukkah is holy. That's why in the sukkah you're not allowed to do anything that's impolite, improper, because the sukkah represents. So this house represents the illusion of permanence in this world that we can see and feel and touch and experience. And the sukkah, we leave it. We leave it and we say, this is not the real thing. The real thing is closest to Hashem. And that's very, very counterintuitive to a Western mind. Western people are used to thinking about Gashmias, and we have been programmed to think about materialistic things. We've been programmed from our youngest days to not be happy with one pair of sneakers. You need 2 pairs of sneakers. You need 10 pairs of sneakers. You need a whole new house to house your wardrobe. You know, there are people who have a room for their clothes. Like they don't have a closet, they have a room, their dressing room of their clothes. And then they have a room for their shoes. I don't know. We've been conditioned to have so much neediness in terms of the materialistic world. And we've been conditioned by the media, by TV, by how we've been raised in the Western world. We've been conditioned to neglect spirituality. And that's why in the 1960s, when the Lubavitch Rebbe saw the whole drug scene began, and these teenagers were starting to question all the things, and hippies and all of that, was the Lubavitch Rebbe had a positive take on it, as all Chabad does. And he said, this is a good sign. This is a sign that the children of the generation, the young people in the generation, are searching for something more than Gashmias, more than materialistic, because they've been fed materialism, and they see that it's just, it's just enough already. It's just nauseating. How much cotton candy can you eat before you feel sick from it? Okay, so this is the mindset of Sukkot. So the mindset of Sukkot is to be in the right mindset. That's what it's all about. It's about hashkafa. Hashkafa means Jewish thought. How are you supposed to think? Pesach tells us we're supposed to think about freedom, and we're supposed to think about devotion. And Shavuos teaches us we're supposed to think about Torah learning. And Sukkot teaches us we're supposed to have the right attitude towards life. And the attitude is, this place that I'm in right now, like the beginning of the Mesilas Yesharim says, is a place for me to earn eternity. And even though it feels so real, and it looks so real, and the experiences are so real and meaningful and important, because we have work to do here, but this is not the ultimate place. The way that the world is right now is not the ultimate way. This place, planet Earth, might be the ultimate place in a fixed version. And right now, what Jews are doing for thousands of years is trying to make this planet habitable and hospitable for Hashem's presence to come back again and to dwell within us, to dwell here with us. And so there we are. That's the hashkafa of Sukkot, is that what we see now isn't so valuable, and what's about to come is valuable. That's the hashkafa of Sukkot, and that Hashem's kirvat Elokim, the closeness of God, is the goal and is the pleasure in the world, and everything else in this world is a tool for us to use to acquire, first of all, to give Hashem nachas, and then to acquire eternity, which is what Hashem wants for us. That's why we read the Megillah of Kohelet on Shabbos. Now let's see. We're going to read it. I don't know if we're going to read it this Shabbos or next Shabbos, because we read it Shabbos Chol Hamoed. So let's see. We start Shabbos. Do you have Shabbos Chol Hamoed? Let's see. Shabbos is first day of Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. So next week, Shabbos by you is Simchas Torah. I think they might be reading Kohelet this Shabbos. Maybe. I don't know. They always read a Shabbos Chol Hamoed. We don't have a Shabbos Chol Hamoed this year because the first day of Yom Tov is Shabbos, and Simchas Torah is on Shabbos. Shmini Atzeres is on Shabbos. So, but that's why we read Koheles. Koheles is a Megillah written by Shlomo HaMelech, our precious Shlomo HaMelech, who taught us that the things of this world, somebody has to mute herself. Zvarah Hindi, you have to mute yourself, sweetie. That Shlomo HaMelech taught us. Anyway, Shlomo Melech taught us that the things of this world are temporary, and that we have to take everything with a grain of salt. And by the way, if you learn Koheles, you see that the beginning of Koheles talks about the 4 elements of the personality, and we learned that. We had a whole teaching on that. Maybe one day we'll review that. But we had a whole course on that. So that's the beginning of Koheles. That's where we learned that from. Okay, so the proper mindset. Sukkot is about acquiring the proper mindset. And the proper mindset for a Jew has to be Simcha. And Simcha means emunah, trusting, believing in God, trusting in God, being happy with whatever God does for us, being grateful for whatever God does for us, and being calm and peaceful that everything Hashem does, everything that happens to us is for the right, is for the best. Whatever Hashem does is exactly what we need at that particular moment, even though we don't necessarily feel that or know that or want that. Letting go of the ego, letting go of the need to be in control, and understanding that there are certain things that are not in our control. That the truth is brings a lot of happiness. I have a friend who doesn't like flying, and she never liked flying, and to this day she doesn't like to fly. She feels scared. She gets scared in a plane. She's not claustrophobic, but she feels out of control. She feels like there's nothing I can do if the plane goes down. And she's a very nice person, this friend of mine, and um, and she's not a controlling person at all in her daily life. But in the plane, she gets fearful because she's afraid of not being in control. I, on the other hand, am a pretty controlling person. As a teacher, I have acquired that skill. As an oldest child in a family, I also acquired that skill. So, and I know that about myself. I'm a pretty controlling person. People ask me what to do with their lives all the time. I tell them what to do with their lives. It's being very controlling. I try to be nice about it, but in order to even lenahel a shiur, in order to run a class, you have to have a little bit of controlling. Anyway, so one time I took a trip with this lady on a plane. She was coming to Israel, and I was living in America then, also coming to visit Israel. And because she's fearful of flying, she asked that we book our tickets the same day. It didn't make a difference to me, so we booked the tickets the same day. And I got on the plane, and this was years and years ago, and I did on the plane what I always do, and that is, the plane is the only place I'm not in control. So I don't get nervous and try to like hold the steering wheel of the plane. I just go to sleep. I get on the plane. I say all the prayers you're supposed to say. I eat something. I go to the bathroom, and then I put the cover over my head and I go straight to sleep. And because I, who am normally a controlling person, know that there's no control on a plane. But my friend, who's not a controlling person, felt like she kept waking me up saying, get up, get up. I'm scared. She was scared. She was scared. Whoever just got on has to mute herself. So it's the right hashkafa in Sukkot is let go of control. Just recognize that Hashem is in control and be an observant Jew, meaning observe what's going on in the world. Observe what's going on in the world and observe how Hashem is arranging everything, how Hashem is just placing everybody where they need to go. If you look at your life, just look at even how Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur was, and how everybody thought that I'm going to be sitting here, I'm going to be sitting there, I'm going to have this guest, I'll have that situation. Everybody had like all these plans. Some of them came true, and so we made, and some of them didn't come true. So what's it all about? It's about letting Hashem run your life. Of course, we have to do what we have to do. I'm not saying you don't have to sit back and be a vegetable, chas v'shalom, God forbid. I'm not saying don't make effort. Of course, you have to make effort. That's a halacha. And they're really, really big tzaddikim. You know how they go to work. You know how they make ishtadlus. They say like this. They say, Hashem, right now, you made a mitzvah. You commanded me to make effort in this world so that whatever money you give me isn't through a direct miracle. It's a concealed miracle. So right now I'm going to give a class. Right now I'm going to write a book. Right now I'm going to do whatever it is. It's just because I'm fulfilling your command of making effort in camouflaging and disguising the way that you bring me back and bring me my money, the money that I need in this world. Real tzaddikim, that's how they go to work. Regular people, they go to work and they say, okay, I have to make money, I have to get a job, right? Real tzaddikim, their mindset is, I'm only working because you told me to, Hashem. Because if you didn't tell me to, I wouldn't have to. And you would be able to find me my sustenance and you would be able to support me whatever way you would do it. It would be fine. But because you commanded me, that's why I'm going to work. Same thing with shidduchim. Some people are very, like they run around to 10 shadchanim. And they have to make effort, they have to make ishtadlus. And some people, the opposite, they say, Hashem told me I have to make effort. And I'll go to one or two shadchanim who have a good track record. And that's all I need. Hashem can make either of these a shliach. Now you have to be You have to be doing it on the true level of where you're at. Let's say if you go to two shadchanim and you're nervous, that means that you're not on level to just go to two shadchanim. Means you have to go to more because you're nervous already. You see that you're not trusting totally Hashem. But whatever level you're on, you have to recognize the level that you're at and then operate on that level, operate at hishtadlus on that level. So that's another mindset of Sukkot. And all of these positive, kosher mindsets are what make us happy. It makes us happy to say thank you. And that's why they always say about Sukkot, and that's why they always say about Sukkot that that's also after the summer when we've gathered in all the summer crops, right? We've gathered in all the summer crops, and we want to say thank you to Hashem because now all the summer crops, whatever grew in the summer, fruits and vegetables and wheat, we have a lot of wheat that grows here in Israel in the summer. I don't know. And we're talking about the holidays agriculturally connected to Eretz Yisrael, not what's going on in Australia. But whatever it is, the summer crops are all in, and all of it is being stored away for the winter. And so we say thank you for that also. And saying thank you is also a way. Thank you to Hashem. Saying thank you to Hashem is also a way of acquiring happiness. So the main thing is to stay positive and to stay happy. There's a big tzaddik who you know, and he said the following. He has very, very loyal students, and he needed a certain, he asked them who is willing to take upon themselves a Kabbalah. A Kabbalah means accepting upon yourself a behavior, a mitzvah, an extra mitzvah. Let's say, for example, some people take upon themselves to learn the laws of Shmiras HaLashon, the laws of Lashon Hara. Some people take upon themselves to make Shabbos 5 minutes early before candlelight, or 10 minutes early before candlelight. Some people take extra, it's extra. In other words, it's called Hidur Mitzvah. You're taking upon yourself to be more careful in a mitzvah that already exists. You're not making up a new mitzvah. We're not allowed to make up mitzvahs. But let's say, for example, it's a mitzvah to learn Torah. So a woman doesn't have to learn Torah every day, let's just say. But it's a mitzvah for when a woman learns Torah, it's a very big mitzvah for her. So let's just say that you take upon yourself that every single day, this is a good one. This is what Rebbetzin Kanievsky used to tell everyone, every day learn 2 laws in Shmiras HaLashon, 2 laws in permissible, how a person's allowed to speak. And that will help you to be more careful with your speech. That's called taking a Kabbalah. A Kabbalah means I'm accepting an action upon myself, a voluntary action. We say every time, we say, B'li neder, without any neder at all, but I'm going to try my best. Let's say, for example, I'll try my best to make a bracha out loud. Before I eat food, I'll try my best to make the bracha out loud so that I don't have a suffix, I don't have a doubt if I did make a bracha or if I didn't make a bracha. Because a lot of times when we mumble a bracha, we didn't hear it with our ears, so we don't know, did I really say it? Did I not say it? So some people take a Kabbalah on themselves to make a bracha out loud, a bracha rishona, a bracha achrona. Some people say they'll take a Kabbalah on themselves to say the birkas hamazon from a bencher, right? After you've eaten bread. Some people will say I want to say the benching, the birkat hamazon, but I want to say it because it's a doraisa, it's a mitzvah from the Torah. I want to say it the best way, so I'm going to open up a bencher, I'll open up a studio, I'll say it from the bencher, not by heart. Everybody takes different Kabbalahs on themselves. And especially Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, you want to have an upcoming year. You want to make a deal with God. He should let you live this upcoming year. So you can take a Kabbalah. Hashem, if you let me live this upcoming year, I'm going to be more careful in tznius. I'll be more careful in modesty, in how I dress and how I speak and how I interact men with women and how I interact with my students or whatever. Anyway, so Tzaddik said, who wants to take a Kabbalah on themselves? He has a specific Kabbalah in mind. So his students were a little bit nervous, for tzaddikim, like what they think is not so hard to do is for regular people hard, but a few, staunch students, strong students raised their hand. And the tzaddik said like this, he said, okay, here's the Kabbalah, you ready? They said, okay, they took a deep breath. Okay, what is it, Rebbe? He said, I want you to take 5 minutes a day. And in these 5 minutes, you're being happy. You're saying for 5 minutes a day on the clock, watch it on the time yourself. Yeah, well, we all have timers. Say, these 5 minutes, I'm going to be in the mindset of Simcha. That's the Kabbalah I want you to take upon yourselves. So that's all for all, I don't know, for the next month, year, I don't know. So, and he was laughing with them because they all thought he's going to say stuff like get up in the middle of the night and say Tehillim, or, go to the mikveh every morning, or, I don't know, learn 2 pages of Gemara every day, or give a lot of money to charity. They didn't know what he was going to say. And he said, this is the best Kabbalah you could take upon yourselves. The best enhancement of mitzvahs you could take is take 5 minutes a day and say, Hashem, I am now with you. I'm not thinking. I'm just going to sit and be happy. And it doesn't have to be that you're sitting and doing nothing. You could be washing dishes. You could be doing laundry. You could be doing other things that I'm thinking I have to do right now, right? And you could do it with the mindset of this is my 5 minutes of happy. And happy means calm, trusting, loving God, being grateful for what you have, not getting any negativity, no negative emotions involved, not even mentioning. I don't even want to mention all the different positive, negative emotions. 5 minutes a day. That's what he said is the biggest Kabbalah you can take. So we could do that, ladies, right? You don't have to take 5 minutes. If 5 minutes is hard, do 60 seconds on your clock. You could put on, we all have these gadgets that we're talking on now. Time it, put a timer 60 seconds, sit and be happy. Thank you. I love you, Hashem. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm happy. I'm happy. Even say those words. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm calm. I'm peaceful. I trust you. I love you. All those words. Say 1 minute, 60 seconds a day. Believe neder. That's a great Kabbalah. And then you're connected to big tzaddikim who say that we should do these kinds of things. Okay, I want to read you one letter from the Lubavitch Rebbe about happiness and staying happy. Okay? Here's what he says. Self-pity is one of the most successful enticements to the evil inclination. I'm reading it from the book of the letters to the Lubavitch Rebbe, right? You know that there's how many volumes are they up to right now? I already lost count, 30 something volumes of letters from the Lubavitch Rebbe, responses that people wrote him letters and he wrote responses. So here's one of them. This is from a letter that's dated. I'll tell you when this is dated. It doesn't say. He wrote this letter by hand. Lubavitch Rebbe a lot of times dictated letters or had his secretary type them or whatever. This one he wrote by hand to the person because it was so important to get this message across. Okay, listen, ladies. Self-pity is one of the most successful enticements of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination. When a person says to himself, since God created me in this manner, and since my situation is such and such, and since I'm able to be, and since I am to be pitied more than any other human being, it is therefore impossible for me to do anything constructive. I am free of all and any obligations. People feel that way. People feel like they feel so sorry for themselves. Everyone in a different has a different reason that they feel so sorry for themselves, and they say, I can't have guests because my house is too small. I can't give charity because I don't have enough money. I can't be happy because I have X, Y, and Z in my life, and I can't be happy. I'm putter. People think that way. In order to warn somebody who's approaching him and telling him something, giving him a little bit of musar, the person prefaces with the following. They say, I'm a good person. I have no complaints against anyone. I'm just incapable right now of doing anything. And even if you should say that I can truly do something constructive, I don't have any desire to do so. This is my nature. What can I do about it? I know all the complaints against my conduct, but what can I do? This is my nature. That's what a self-pitying person says. This is my life. Nebuch. And sometimes they don't verbalize it at all. It's just how they carry themselves, how they look at themselves as Nebuch, in Yiddish Nebuch. In light of the above, the self-pity that the person has, He thinks everything is okay. The underlying point and principle in ridding oneself of all the above is a saying of our sages that says, if somebody says, I have toiled but not succeeded, do not believe him. For surely one will succeed if he but truly applies himself. The same applies to all matters in your life in all their details. You're not allowed to absent yourself from life and say, I can't do it. You have to try and work very, very hard. And then the mission Pirkei says, if you try, you will succeed. Don't give up. This is a lifetime in front of us of not feeling a drop of self-pity. Like Rabbi Yaakov Meir once said in that same meeting that he said, that I mentioned before, that he said about the definition of happiness. He also said, if you can't do what you're supposed to be doing, do whatever it is that you can do, but never stop working. Never, of course, I don't mean like 24/7, 365, 120. We all need to sleep and eat, whatever. But don't self-pity. Don't have self-pity. Instead, you could take the situation that you're in and actually use it to help somebody else in that same situation. I had a student now, she's a bubby already. She's the cutest, cutest. She's a Persian, little Persian Rebbetzin and lives in America. And when she's very petite, and when she was younger, she had scoliosis, and she had to wear a back brace when she was, I think, 12 years old and 13 years old. And just those years when you're so self-conscious, when you're entering to the teenage years and you're so self-conscious about your looks and you're self-conscious about what people think about you. And those were the years, I guess, when that's also the growing years, the changing is that she had to wear a back brace and a neck brace, a back brace. And those were in those, this is going back, this lady, this girl, she must be now in her 40s. So it's going back 35, 40 years, I don't know, something like that. They were very cumbersome. I remember the way they were big. They had these big metal bars. I don't know what they have now. I'm sure it's much more streamlined. And she said she was very embarrassed. And she had to go to school. Now, she did go to an all-girls school, so that made it easier for her. But she was embarrassed. She had to wear a Shabbos and whatever. It was hard for her. So she said, but she comes from a very, very positive, upbeat family. And she is by nature a very upbeat, positive person. So she said, for the 2 years, I think she wore for 2 years. For the 2 years that she wore her back brace, she used to say, instead of falling into misery and humiliation and not going out, she would say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to keep my eyes open to see if I see anybody else who's wearing any kind of a brace, meaning even teeth braces, even back braces, even crutches if somebody hurt themselves, any kinds of a body, I don't know what you would call that, an implement that was somehow needed for the person for their health. She said she's going to keep her eyes open for that. And if she ever sees somebody who's wearing some kind of a device, she's going to give them an encouraging word. Now, when did she tell me that story? Not when she was a young girl. She told me when she was already 18 years old. And we were talking about how a person's negative situation can be transformed into something positive. And that's when she shared in front of a lot of people. She shared that. She said she never spoke about it to anybody, but whenever she sees anybody now with any physical impairment, or wearing any physical device to fix and correct something in their body, she goes over to them, even if they're a stranger in the street, and she says to them, she says about herself that she wore a back brace for 2 years and it really did a good job and it helped her a lot. And don't worry, and it's good for you and you look fine. And she went over to people, random strangers, non-Jews, to say, and that's how she took her situation. And that's when she was in a negative situation, when she was in that self-pitying. If she was a little kid, 12, 13, that mindset. Everything is me, me, myself, and I. That mindset goes on for many years, sadly, in the Western world. And she said she, at a little age, decided she's going to use her negativity instead of self-pitying to help somebody else. So that's how we're going to do it, ladies. That's what the Rebbe just said. You have to work on yourself to not be self-pitying. Push yourself to work hard on yourself. And keep your eyes open for anybody else that you can help under your circumstances. They said that Rabbi Eiden Steinsaltz, he said about himself the following. Rabbi Eiden Steinsaltz was a creative, incredibly productive man. And we spoke about this, we said this story many times. It's just made such an impression on me. Also makes me feel very guilty. He said that he once went to Lubavitch Rebbe, and he told him like this. He said, Rebbe, I'm involved in many projects. He rewrote he wrote a commentary on the entire Shas, the whole Talmud. You know what that means? Even to learn the whole Talmud on the most simple, superficial level takes 7.5 years if you do a page a day, a daf a day, right? That's just to read it, but to understand it and then to write a commentary explaining it, that was his life's work. See, he had that. And then he was giving lectures all around the world. And then he was writing a whole bunch of other books. And he was teaching. He had a whole high school that he created here in Eretz Israel. And he had a whole online learning, adult education, whatever. He was involved in so many things. And he was not young. And when he went to Lubavitch Rebbe, he and the Lubavitch Rebbe, let's see, Lubavitch Rebbe now would be like 120, right? 120. So he was now, when he passed, he was like 90. So, okay, let's say Lubavitch Rebbe was 80 then, and he was like 50. At 50, you start feeling also your aches and pains. However old he was, he went to Rebbe and he said, listen, these are my projects. I can't continue all of them. So which one should I put on the back burner for a while? And Lubavitch Rebbe looked at his list and he said, add something, add another project. So Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, like, what? Maybe the Rebbe didn't hear me? I'm overwhelmed. I can't. I want you to take away one of the. Rebbe said, no, never take away, only add, only increase, never diminish, only increase. So whatever we're doing, we're going to do it more. Whatever Kabbalah we're taking by ourselves for this upcoming Tavshin Pei Dalet. Pei Dalet is Pidyon. Pidyon means the redemption. Pei Dalet, Pidyon David. It's a big year. It's an upcoming big year. So whatever we're going to take more upon ourselves. We're going to do more. We're going to learn more. We're going to daven more. We're going to be nicer. We're going to be more loving. We're going to be less judgmental and more judging favorably, more charitable. You're going to help Joanne. You're going to help Rebbe Dov with this shir. All the people who are listening, who we send this out to all over the place, are going to help Rebbe Dov and Seed to sponsor the shir. Whatever we're going to do, we're going to do more. And we're going to do 60 seconds a day. Can you do it? Believe Nether, try 60 seconds a day on the timer to just say everything's good. Everything's okay. Hashem's in charge. I'm so happy to be a Jew. I'm so happy to be a mitzvah observant Jew. I'm so happy to be modest and holy and loving. I'm so happy, Hashem, that you're my Hashem. I love it. I love Shabbos. I love Yontif. I love Sukkos. I love going in my sukkah and remembering that the real world is the sukkah. The fake world is the house of bricks. Hashem, we're constructing now a real world with you, a real Olam Haba with you. We can't wait for Olam Haba. I mean, we want to wait. We want Olam Haba to come down to this world already. We want Mashiach to come this year. That's
Amen.
Okay. Now, it's a good thing, Rebbe Dov, that you got on, because I must tell you that I woke up this morning saying, why is Rebbe Dov sending me a voice message? Oh, no. And then I looked at the status and I said, oh, no, I do have a class today. I totally didn't realize. So it's a good thing that you did that, because otherwise I would have been in the middle of what I have to do now. Cooking, cleaning, laundry.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn a little bit of Torah and to talk about Simcha and to talk about 60 seconds, maybe. Let's all try on the clock. Everybody has a timer. Do an egg timer. You have an egg timer? Old-fashioned egg timer? 60 seconds a day. Just be happy. Just be happy.
So I'm sure you actually all saw, whoever was there in the beginning, that actually I was at a chalamek in a primary school with year 4s, and Sorola's husband and Sorola and her husband are the educators in that school. Yes. And last night I had done a class with just 5 ladies in somebody's house. And the woman was there today and she came up to me to tell me that she decided last night, all of them together have decided that they're taking on Shabbos candle lighting.
Oh, wow, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
And really it's because I'm talking about the Shabbat project and the Shabbos project and lighting candles and learning about Shabbos and in internalizing it. And one of the women that's also there many years ago, I told her about when you do something for Shabbos, and it's always, but it has to be really L'Kovet Shabbos. Hashem gives it back to you. And that her friends make fun of her because she goes shopping on a Friday and she always says, it's in honor of Shabbos. Joanne says, the money's going to come back to me. I'm not worried. So last night she sends me a message and she says, I just want you to know that after, and I was talking about it, I said, we can get a new shaitel or new clothes, or I feel like a big piece of meat. So I can say it's, if I say it's in honor of Shabbos and it's not, then, so it's got to really be covered Shabbos. So she sent me a message for about 3 years, she's been asking me about a wine fountain. And because she just loves the thing of it going in and sharing with everybody. And she says, but she always thinks like she can't spend the money on it. She said after last night, she's going to buy a wine fountain and she lights her Shabbos candles anyway. But you know what? It's such a, and that's what we don't see. We see like when we do something for Simcha, it just goes inside people's hearts. And that's what we all need. And we really, 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 really do need it now.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for all of the notes. Amen. It should be a simon bracha for a whole house. Yes. Ezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week, Cholamoid, we will, if we can, whoever can get into to go visit Rochel Silber in her sukkah, it would be wonderful, but we will give you Zoom off next week.
Thank
and
you.
Yisras Hashem, then we will reconvene on the Thursday after. And maybe in Yerushalayim, but Ezras Hashem, we'll all be in Yerushalayim together.
Ezras Hashem, just get on a plane.
Yeah, it's enough. It's really enough. It's enough. Yeah.
Okay, sweeties.
Okay, good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov, and Be'ezras Hashem, a year of complete Simcha.
Amen for that. Amen.
Amen. Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov. Thank you so much.
Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Haley. Hi, Mrs. Dome. Hi, Dahlia. Hi, Naomi. Hi, Joanne. Rebbetzin Dove. Hi, Sarala. You had a lot of work to do today. You were in two places at the same time, yeah? Hi, Mrs. Dorna. And hi, Dvar Hinda. Sorry, I had to call you out and tell you that. Mute. Hi, Rebecca. And hi, Mrs. Morris. And hi, Shella. Where everybody going? Hi, Shulamit. Shulamit is a really busy time. Hi, Katie. Did I say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
If anything is an emergency, yes, of course, you can contact me. If not, it's okay, sweetie pie. It's okay, Laura Henza. Anybody who can contact me. I'm a little bit busy, so if I don't answer the phone, understand. You can leave me a voice note. That's the best thing. Leave me a voice note. That way, I wake up in the middle of the night, I can listen to it and I can respond. That's okay.
Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov.
Good Shabbos, good Yom Tov.
Thanks for all the inspiration.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. You're also inspiring a whole bunch of